I am so excited for yet another epic Rebel Radio conversation with my brand new friend, Liam. Liam, welcome to Rebel Radio. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much for having me, Cindy. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited for our conversation today. So before we
too.
came live, I shared a little bit of your numerology, and you'd had experience with numerology, so you knew your ruling number. So I took you down a different rabbit hole. And I'm curious, what was something that stood out to you about what I shared with you?
Well, just the whole idea of my relationship with money, I suppose, and financial abundance, and how it's been I can tell a little bit about my story when I explain why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I'm helping people understand their brains and how that fits into their life, if you like. But it's very much been, the roller coaster relationship with money, whether it's based on fear or belief, has really shaped my experiences, if you like. So it was very interesting to hear that there's a thread of power that goes through there.
Yeah, I love that. And you shared a little bit of your story with me before we went live. So I would love for you to share what your experience has been in life. And because it definitely matched up to your numerology. It made sense when you explained that to me. So share a little bit of your story and who Liam is.
Okay. Well, what I do these days is I focus on helping people to get the most out of their life by understanding how their brain works and how that contributes to their life success, if you like, or failure, as it were, because I've had sort of both in my life. My mid-40s, I was doing pretty well. I was a multi-millionaire. I had businesses going and everything was working well. And then virtually overnight, I lost everything and became homeless. And I ended up sleeping on the sofa in the living room of my elderly mother's small apartment. And I had nothing. And I was thinking, the thing I really thought was, why has this happened to me? Or how could this have happened to me? Because by that stage, I thought I was an expert on success, because I'd pretty well studied everything there was that I could think of to do with success. I'd always been obsessed, if you like. Some people would say obsessed. I thought I would say passionate about
fine line.
Yeah, how do you get the most out of your life? I wanted to be a success. All my life, I wanted to be happy and successful and have the old, ego thing of having more, being more, achieving more. And I went down through so many different paths. I started off being brought up in a religious family. And my answer to the question that I had then, how can I be happy and successful, was from my teachers and my parents and the church, which said, you just ask God for what you want, you pray for what you want, and God will give it to you. And even as a child, I tried that. I remember, I think I was about 10 years of age, and I went to early morning mass. This was a Catholic family. I went every day for a month in the middle of winter, because I thought, I'm going to test God on this one. I'm going to go every day for a month and ask for one thing to prove that ask and you'll receive. If you just ask God, you'll get it. And I can't remember what it was. It was something like win a competition at school or something really, but it was very specific. And I said, okay, God, this is what I want. I'm coming to putting all this effort, coming every day for a month. Where is it? Well, it didn't happen. So I started to think, even though I was only 10, well, where's the flaw? It must be me. I must be doing something wrong, because they say this is how it works. But I noticed everyone around me in the church, they actually weren't any happier and more successful than I was, or anyone else for that matter. So then I went down a whole lot of other paths. Then I thought the key to being successful is get an education. So I went to university for 7 years, and I became quite an authority on an area of classical music, actually. And I've got a master's degree and all those sorts of things. And although I really enjoyed it, and I got a lot of knowledge, and I looked at the people around me, my professors, they had a lot of knowledge, it didn't seem to be the key to happiness either and success. They weren't any happier. They still had stress and problems and lack of fulfillment, if you like. So then I went and set up my own business. Somebody said, get your own business. That's the key to being happy and successful. Make lots of money. And even though I did that, well, that's what I did. I went and set up my own, the first of many businesses, actually. I noticed that as I got more successful, quote unquote, I also got more stress in my life and more problems. And I started to buy into this idea, well, stress and problems, that just comes with the territory. if you want to be successful, you have to overcome all of these obstacles and you have to continually deal with all of these problems in your life. That's the price you pay for success.
Constant
I thought,
struggle.
well, yeah, that's right. And I thought, well, it makes it sound a little bit hard, but if that's the way it is. So I went down the whole personal development area after that, self-improvement. And I went to seminars all around the world because all of the people there were promising, if you want to be happy and successful and rich like me, just do what I tell you. Come and do this seminar or read this book or do this course. And my system, you can see how rich and happy I am. You can be like me. So I went all over the world, and from New Zealand anywhere is a long way. I went to America, and I did fire walks, and I did all sorts of stuff. And I also did lots of courses on motivation, setting goals, changing your thoughts, changing your beliefs, reprogramming your subconscious mind, affirmations. I used to carry a little card around with my goals on it and read it all the time. And I'd listen to all of these recordings of people changing your brain waves and things like that. And that didn't really quite work either, because I still had lots of stress and problems. Then I went down the spirituality path, and I studied all sorts of things from meditation to different spiritual practices. But all through these things, what I felt was, even though I was, gaining a lot of knowledge, I still had a lot of problems. I still had a lot of stress. I wasn't feeling really in control of my life to the point where I could relax and feel, I can actually not worry about the future, if you like, that what's going to come up. So when I lost everything in my 40s and I ended up homeless and sleeping on the couch, I thought, everything I've learned about how to be successful, how to be in control of your life, why is this not working? Why has this happened to me? There's something else going on here. So I got through that whole experience, and after I did, and things started to get a lot better in my life, but they're also very different, because I was starting to develop business ideas and create businesses. I created a new romantic relationship, but everything was very different, because things were it was like they were coming to me. Opportunities, people, the right ideas came to me. And I wasn't struggling, whereas before I'd been running after success, chasing it, trying to grab it, trying to get more, pressure, set higher goals. For some reason, and I figured out what it was later, for some reason that just wasn't happening. And I thought, I'm actually happy, because I don't have any stress or problems in my life. I've got all the money I need to do what I want to do. I'm doing some really wonderful things that I've always wanted to do. I'm doing them. I'm with somebody who's a dream to be with rather than a problem, which would be my history. I thought, I need to figure out what I'm doing differently, because whatever it is, I want to make sure I keep doing it. I don't want to stop, because this is working.
What's the secret?
And so I thought, I need to back engineer this. And with all of the different things I'd tried, having a university background, it's probably my research brain as well. I started to pull some threads together, and I started to go down some interesting rabbit holes and find out some interesting information. And one of the things I did was I thought, well, if I give up everything I know and everything I've learned, what's a basic question that I can start with to ask what I've been doing differently? And I thought, well, here's something to ask myself. Who am I, and what am I doing here? Now, you might think that's a big question, and of course it isn't. Thousands of people have attempted to answer that question, but I thought, it struck me that we can all have a different opinion on who we are, all the multi-layers, but one thing we can all agree on is we live in a physical body. We're physical. We live in a physical world. So I thought, okay, well, I can prove that. That makes sense. I'm part of a human species, so I must have some biological function or biological purpose. And it turns out that we do have a biological purpose, and every biological scientist tells us this. Our biological purpose is to make sure we survive and thrive. And by thrive, that means being the best that you can be, so that you have the greatest chance for survival. That's the purpose of human life, and all life is to survive and create more life. So the interesting thing about that, I realized, that also means, if you're the best you can be, if you're giving yourself the greatest chance to thrive as well as survive, that must mean you're happiest. You must be your happiest when you're best you can be, because when you are happy, that's when you're resourceful, creative, motivated, contributing to yourself, contributing to others, it comes from a state of happiness. When you're stressed and worried, you don't do that. You shut down, and you get depressed and you don't do anything. So this creative state, it turns out biologically, is the way we're supposed to be. We are supposed to be happy. And I thought,
shocking.
It is shocking, because who is happy? But it's our biological purpose. We're designed to be happy. Yeah. And the next really interesting breakthrough idea I realized was, because I thought, well, has nature, in this biological form that I live in, has nature provided me with anything to ensure that I survive and thrive? In other words, has it provided me with anything to make me happy, that's designed to make me happy? And it turns out it has. And it's this thing between our ears, our brain. Our brain has a biological purpose. It's created for one thing, to make us survive and thrive. In other words, to stay alive and to be the happiest that we can be, so that we thrive. And the enormous power of the brain, we haven't got time to go into it, but it's really the most incredibly powerful machine. It's infinitely more powerful than any computer. Trillions of times more powerful. There have been books written on this. So it has the power to give you the life you're supposed to lead, in other words, to survive and thrive. So if it has the power to do it, if you're not surviving and thriving, why not? Because this is what this brain is designed to do. And so I started to do a bit of research into how the brain works and all the different parts of it, and I've simplified it into a model which shows that essentially there is a way to use your brain that is the right way, and when you do, you survive and thrive. And when you don't, you get problems, because your brain is like any machine. It is infinitely powerful, but it is a machine. It's designed to do a certain job. And if you think about a motor car, you know that's a machine. You know what it's designed to do. One thing: take you from where you are to where you want to go, easily, efficiently, enjoyably, and in the best possible way. That's its job. That's what it's designed to do. But you also know that it has no hope of getting you there if you don't know how to drive it. If you got into a car and you didn't know how to drive it, what hope would it have of doing its job?
Right? Oh my gosh.
So we're all well, of course you wouldn't get into a car and try to get anywhere if you haven't learned how to drive it. But why is it the most powerful machine that exists, that's designed to get us anywhere we want to go, to be the best that we can be? Why has nobody sat down and said, well, if you want to get anywhere, if you want it to do its job, you have to learn how to use it? No one's taught us that.
Yeah.
So that's what has become my mission, is to teach people how your brain works and how it's designed to work, and why most people are using it the wrong way, and they're getting what a car gives you if you use it the wrong way: problems. Yeah. If you try and drive with the handbrake on and the car's going to not get anywhere very, very fast. Or what most people do if they don't know how to drive a car, they might say, well, it's got four wheels. Well, maybe the way to get it from where I am to where I want to go, maybe I need to get out from behind and push. And I'll put in all of this effort and huge amount, and I'll be so motivated and determined, and I will get this car moving to the destination. Right. You say that's crazy. All that does is wear you out. It doesn't get you anywhere, or if it does, it's not very far, and it just creates enormous stress. Yeah. And we would think it crazy if someone did that. We would also think it crazy if they said, oh, it's not going very well. The problem is me. I'm not strong enough. I need to learn to be stronger and be more motivated because I'm weak. And then you put even more effort. It's just all the wrong way to use it. But if someone just explained to you, look, it's not your job to struggle and stress and try and get anywhere. You've got this machine that knows more than you think you do about yourself. It's designed to get you there. You just need to use it the right way. And then you can do what you're supposed to do. Just enjoy the ride. Enjoy the view. Enjoy the trip.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. There's so much value in what you're sharing with us. And I think, what stands out for me the most is what you said, that the brain is like this machine.
Yeah.
And it's like a computer. It's a supercomputer. Well, computers need to be programmed. And unfortunately, we are being programmed by our society to, that we're supposed to hustle, supposed to grind, supposed to work hard, supposed to do all this stuff, knowing that we have a choice in that, though, and teaching the brain to work with us, I think, is really important. There was something else that you shared, too. I can't remember what it is right now. I wanted to point it out, but that's okay. It'll come back to me.
Well, the thing is, we are actually already programmed for success. And where the program is written, the code for that program is written in the stuff called our DNA. And what DNA is, just as a brief explanation for your listeners if they're not sure, because we've all heard of DNA, but do we know what it is?
Yeah.
What it actually is in every cell of your body, it's a strand of molecules of information about who you are. And if you were to stretch out that strand of information, those molecules, chemicals, it would be 4 feet long. Now, you've got 75 trillion cells in your body. I worked it out recently. That's 58 billion miles of DNA.
That's a lot.
That's 10 times from here to Mars. But here's the
That's
thing.
a lot.
What's in those strands? There's 250 million pieces of information about you. It's your blueprint for who you are. Now, you don't know 250 million things about yourself, but the part of your brain that is designed to get you to where you want to go, its job is literally to express this blueprint, express the best of who you are. That's what it's biologically designed to do. That's why you have DNA. This information is basically you. And that's what is designed biologically to be carried on through your survival and surviving and thriving. So we have a blueprint, but we get knocked off course by using our brain the wrong way, by not understanding how it works. And what you're referring to, having other things come in to mess up the way the brain works.
Yeah.
It's a bit like with your car. You put water in the fuel tank, and you wonder why it doesn't work. Well, it's because of what you're putting into it. It can't work properly.
Exactly.
You're going to end up with problems.
I remembered what I was going to say too. You touched on, you were looking for all the answers from all of the gurus of the personal development. Trust me, I went down that path too. And all of the gurus and the courses and take this and look at how much money I make and all of that stuff. And we think that when I get there, when I have what that person has, then I'll be happy. And all we do is delay our happiness when we could really just be happy now and then watch it unfold.
Well, that comes to a lack of understanding how the brain works, because the way your brain works, to solve your problems, most people are doing it around the wrong way. They're saying, when I solve my problems, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But the way your brain works, and I can explain it on a biological level, the way your brain works is when you're happy, then you solve your problems.
Yep.
It's the other way around.
You are speaking my language.
It's all biological. There's nothing, esoteric about this. This is physical science.
Yeah, I love that. I teach a course called Mastering the Brain Game, and I certify coaches in this course. And we refer to it as T-Rex brain and dolphin brain. Because T-Rex brain, you have tiny little arms and a tiny little brain. You can't make decisions. Your intuition's not working. But if you're in dolphin brain, you're happy and you're lit up and you're full of love, and the answers come to you more easily. You're totally speaking my language. I love it.
Well, I've actually created a 4-part model for how your brain works. I don't know if we've got time to explain how I think it works.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, what I've discussed, and there's obviously lots of scientific and you'll know this anyway, but there's lots of scientific and technical descriptions for the different parts of your brain. But I've simplified it into a model that I think, just like with a motor car analogy, anyone can understand, and therefore anyone can apply, because you don't need to know the names of all the wires and things in your car to know how to drive it. You just need to know the 3 things you need to do to get it to work. So the thing about your brain is it has 4 parts to it. And as I say, I've simplified the names. The first part's the thinking brain, and this is the part at the top of your head. But this is the part that basically takes in all of the information that you accumulate every moment you're alive through your 5 senses. So everything you hear, smell, taste, touch. What's the other one? Hear, smell, taste, feel. Yeah.
Feel. There we go.
Everything that's coming at you comes as information, and also your thoughts. And it all gets stored in this part of your brain, the thinking brain. So this is like a library or a database of all of your knowledge that you've accumulated. The second part of your brain is your feeling brain, your emotional brain. You probably know the amygdala, hippocampus, those sort of parts of the brain. And that's responsible for how you feel, so that when it produces chemicals to either make you feel good or loving and grateful and all that, happy, or not good, stressed, worried, afraid. So that's your emotional brain. The third part of your brain is the survival brain. This is the part at the back of the head. And this handles everything about your survival. not what you're thinking about, but the things you don't think about, like your breathing, your heart rate, all of the organs in your body. Everything to keep you going physically is handled by the survival brain. But there's one other thing, really important function, and I'll come back to this a bit later because this is crucial to understand, and most people don't, is that this survival part of your brain, which is about doing everything to make sure you survive, one of the things it does is, if your brain sees something coming towards you that represents an immediate threat, an immediate danger to your survival, something that could harm or even kill you, the survival brain creates a reaction, which we sometimes call the fight, flight, freeze response, to deal with that danger. So what happens is the other part of your brain, that's actually your emotional brain, sends a signal in the form of chemicals to make you feel afraid, which then diverts all of the energy from the rest of your body and the rest of your brain to fighting off an immediate danger. So the classic example in prehistoric times, the lion's running out the forest and roars at you.
Two things.
Yeah. So you react, and you either run away, or you call out for help, or you stand and fight, but you do something, you simply react. You're not thinking. We all know what I'm talking about, this reaction to danger. So that's all fine and good, but there's actually a fourth part of the brain, which is not the thinking part. It doesn't come from thoughts. It doesn't come from your feelings, and it doesn't come from an automatic response. And it's what I call the creative brain. And science is just starting to really research that there is this fourth part of the brain. And what the creative brain is responsible for is your intuition, your gut feelings, your bigger awareness, your bigger picture ideas, your creativity, your resourcefulness, your imagination. It's where you get ideas and thoughts that you've never had before, and you go, where did that come from?
Yeah.
It's from your creative brain.
What I call dolphin brain.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And musicians and creators talk about how, musicians say, I just heard the music and then I wrote it down. They don't know where it comes from. It's not from their thoughts. It's not from their past experience. And we've all had experiences where we go, I can see what I should do here, or what I shouldn't do here. Or you get a gut feeling, no, that doesn't feel right, or that feels right. You meet the person you're going to marry and you go, I'm going to marry that person. It comes from somewhere else.
Yeah.
But here's the other interesting thing about the creative brain, a couple of interesting things. Firstly, on a low level of awareness, we all think that things like luck, coincidence, synchronicity, things like that are all flukes. We don't realize that this creative brain, because of its enormous power, it literally brings to us those circumstances as well, because this is the part of the brain that's primarily concerned with helping us to thrive, survive and thrive. So remember, the brain's job is to bring you everything you need to be the best version of yourself that you can be the happiest you can be. So it's not just giving you good ideas. It's not just giving you imagination and the answers to problems. It's giving you the people and circumstances you need. They don't come from out of there's no such thing as a random, this is not a random universe. It couldn't exist if there was anything such thing as, luck or whatever.
Right.
So, but here's the thing. We're supposed to live in that state most of the time, because that's called I call it our natural creative state. We're feeling good. We're in the flow. We're in the zone. We're coming up with good ideas. We're solving problems if they come along. We're avoiding problems. We're dealing with the right people. We're doing what we should be doing with our life to be happy. It's our brain doing this for us.
Yeah.
That's why we're supposed to live. But there's only one time we're not supposed to live like that. And that's when the lion comes running out of the jungle. On the very odd occasion, you're going through your life and being happy. On the very odd occasion, if something comes along unexpectedly, what happens in your brain is your brain sends a different signal, and it sets off fear. And what fear does, it puts you in that survival state just for a short period of time to get rid of that danger, so that you can get back to being in that happy, being yourself, the best you can be state. But the problem is, what happens in that fear state on a brain level, it takes all of the resources, I mentioned this earlier, from the rest of your body, and it only allows you to use the parts that are most valuable or essential to deal with that immediate danger. So what it does is it gets you to focus on everything. You're totally focused on every danger that's in your environment. But here's the other thing. It shuts down your creative brain.
Yep.
So it shuts down all of your resourcefulness, your imagination, your creativity. And the part of your brain that knows how to solve any problem you've got or make sure you avoid problems. But what's the problem with most people? They don't realize that they're in this, whenever you're in a fearful, anxious, stressed state, you're living in this survival state and you're blocking off your creative brain. Yep. So you think you've got problems, you can't solve those problems in that state. It's just not the way the brain's designed. You can only,
all I can picture right now is a Tyrannosaurus Rex trying to put a fitted sheet on a bed.
Yeah.
You just can't solve the problem.
and what do? We go, I need to set more goals. I need to learn more. I need to struggle more. And I need to, and that's all our survival brain, which doesn't know it doesn't know how to make our life right. And I realized that's what I used to do in my previous life. And that's why I had so much stress and why I created more problems for myself all the time and attracted problem situations, because where my brain was at, that was what it was focused on.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's looking for problems. And if it can't find any, it's going to make them for you.
That's its job.
Yeah. But it's not the way our brain should be used. We should be living in this creative state and only feel afraid, only feel stressed when we do have a lion coming at us. Not when we turn the news on and we see that there's a war going on somewhere, or that, you know, the stock market's crashing or anything like that. So what that comes down to realize is that fear is your number one enemy. You've got to realize fear is toxicity, because fear, anxiety, stress, when you feel that, it's called your sympathetic nervous system is what gets activated, that fight, flight, fear, and literally blocks and shuts down all of your creative brain's ability to bring you the life that you want. You're never going to be able to solve all your problems. You're never going to be able to create your ideal life when you're feeling stressed. And it's just a biological thing. It's nothing to do with a nice idea, you know. And the other thing, I hope I'm not going on too much here, but I just want to make another point. Why have we never been told this? Why did we not know that fear is the enemy? Fear is like a toxicity. It's because we don't understand how our brain works. But if someone came along to you and said, here's a glass of hydrochloric acid, I'll give you $1 million to drink it, you'd go, what? All right, 10 million. No, you don't get it. If I drink that, it's going to damage me and ruin my life. But we don't realize there's a hydrochloric acid we're putting into our brain all the time, which is causing us to activate our sympathetic nervous system, causing us to feel fear, causing us to shut down our true power. And it doesn't matter how motivated we are, how much we pray, how much determined we are, how much information we want to pile in when we're in that state. If you're not able to access it, it's just not going to work. That's it.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh. I know we're going later than usual on the show today, but I don't even care. You are speaking my language. This is Brain Game 101. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to share it with my Brain Game coaches and share it in all the communities, because I think this is so important for all of us to understand that it's, you know, we have the power to figure out our brains. But I do want to touch on a couple of questions. So we're speaking to consciousness in a sense with this whole conversation. Our brains, it's all about consciousness. I am curious what your definition of unity consciousness is.
I guess it's just being aware of who you are, who you really are. And the beautiful part about living from your creative brain, your awareness completely shifts. And what I like to say is, when you're in your creative, natural creative state, your awareness shifts and you begin to see the truth. You begin to see the truth about who you are, and that you're not some limited, you know, victim of politicians or or whoever your enemy is, your boss or the economy or anything. That's not who you are. You are connected to this infinite intelligence through your creative brain. And this is a biological thing. It's provable scientifically. And it's certainly provable in your life. So unity consciousness is, you realize that the essence of who you are, you know, people talk about enlightenment and all these things. What are they? They're just you being in your natural creative state where you see the truth of everything. That's what you're designed to do. You're not here to see what isn't the truth. That would make no biological sense either. You're here to have an experience being the best that you can be, and that involves seeing the truth of who you are.
Yes, I love that so much. So good. So you spoke about being caught up in this T-Rex brain, I call it, the fight-flight response, and losing everything you had. all of your money, your finances, your millions of dollars that you had. And I'm curious now that you live in this creative dolphin brain, what does wealth mean to you?
I don't know. Just being, having everything I need. Well, I don't really have a definition of, and I know my numerology says I should be fixated on wealth, but so sorry if I'm letting the side down there. I guess I am, but it's about abundance. But abundance comes from the present moment and feeling creative and realizing who you are, and that you don't because a lack of abundance is feeling limitation, and limitation comes from fear. If you're in a fear state, you see limitation. In your creative state, there is no limitation.
Yeah.
And when you're not limited, then you can and when you don't feel fear, the only time you don't feel fear, what are our fears? Worry about the future, regret about the past. When you have no fear, you can just enjoy what the only thing that is, which is the present moment. And that's the way we're designed to be. Yeah. So I don't know if that's answering your question, but
absolutely,
that's what wealth is seeing who you are and seeing, we live in the most incredible universe. It's absolutely unbelievable. But who of us ever see it? We never stop and actually look at it. Look at how amazing it all is.
We're all so worried about the future or regret in the past that we forgot to look at what's right in front of us. It's so beautiful.
Well, and it's not our fault. It's because our brain is not allowing us to do that. Because when you're in a fearful state, your brain is shutting down its awareness and is laser-like looking for what is dangerous and therefore what is limited in your life. So it's not your fault, but it's like I can keep going on about the car analogy, but if you can't expect a car to go at 100 miles an hour when you've got the handbrake on, you've one foot on the pedal, on the foot brake, and you're pushing down on the accelerator. It's just not going to work. So it's not your fault that you do that, but you don't know that that's not how you're supposed to drive a car.
Right. We all need to learn how to drive the damn car.
Yeah, well, we need to learn how to drive our brain, and then we'd go, if we realize what fear did to us, we would say, my mission in life is to figure out how I can get rid of things that make me feel bad. And you really become aware of what are you allowing to make you feel stressed or anxious. So that's turning off those that stuff on the TV if it doesn't make you feel good. It's stopping that conversation with somebody that doesn't make you feel good. It's limiting or even eliminating your interaction with that person who doesn't make you feel good. It's getting out of that situation, that job you don't like that doesn't make you feel good, because you realize the big picture is this creative part of your brain is just sitting there waiting to give you everything you need to be really happy. And it's designed to do that, and it will do it, but you've got to allow it to do its job. So your only job is to stop the stuff that's coming in, that's putting you into that state, that's blocking your brain. Another way of putting it.
I love it so much. I feel like I could talk to you all day. You are totally speaking my language. Thank you so much for being on the show. As always, we end Rebel Radio with one last question. What do you dream of for the world?
I don't know if I really I think the world is a perfect place. I don't see any, I know it might sound a bit silly, but I don't see any problems in the world. I just see people who aren't aware of who they are. But there is perfection. This world is absolutely perfect. You just need to be able to use your brain the right way, and you'll see that it is. So I guess my mission, if you like, or what I am passionate about is sharing this information with people to see that it's not only possible to live a happy life, it's what you're designed to do. And you've just been tricked, fooled, whatever you want to call it, and you can get into conspiracy theories of whatever you like about, but it's true. There are other people who are manipulating you and want to manipulate you for power. And the only way they can do that is by the only part of you they can control is your fear-based brain. They can't control you when you're in your survival state. So that's the part that all these people are focusing on. And by people, I mean people who want you to get you to buy things. They use fear as a tactic, or people who want you to act in a certain way, or say that the way you are is you're not good enough, whatever. They're all playing on keeping you in this fear, anxious, anxiety state, so that you can't see who you really are, and you can't step into your true power of who you are. Yeah. So my vision for the world is that more people go, yes, I have been driving the car the wrong way, and it just makes total nonsense the way I've been driving it, and I'll drive it a different way.
Time to take your foot off the brake.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Other things.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been such a pleasure. I know my audience is commenting left, right, and center on this as well. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you, Cindy. It's been a real pleasure.